I don't know if we're going to get into a rut in this, but man, the last thing I want to do right now is take up an offering. So let's just move into the Word. You guys are going to have some strong legs by the end of this month.
How wonderful that he speaks directly to people. I mean, everybody up here, that was him for you. I don't know. It's just, he's so kind. Let's read John 12 together. John 12, chapter 1. It says, 6 days before the Passover celebration began, Jesus arrived in Bethany, the home of Lazarus, the man he raised from the dead. A dinner was prepared in Jesus' honor. Martha served, and Lazarus was among those who ate with him. Verse 3, then Mary took a 12-ounce jar of expensive perfume made from essence of nard, and she anointed Jesus' feet with it, wiping his feet with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance. Everybody say this after me. The house was filled. With the fragrance. Yeah. See, these are like 3 simple verses, right? 3 simple verses. But there are like 3,000 truths and details that uncover who Jesus is. Can I teach a little bit this morning? Get out your notebooks. If you don't know what a notebook is, get out your phone. I believe God is going to deposit some things into your heart this morning. I love to see Jesus at dinner parties. I love seeing Jesus be human. Come on, talk to me, church. Do you love it when Jesus just gets down in the dirt with us on our level? Because that's who he was. Jesus was human as much as he was God. And I love to see him at dinner parties, and this is a very familiar situation because he's at another dinner party with the one and only Mary and Martha, who he had dinner with multiple times. And of course, in the past, Jesus told Mary, you're doing the right thing, spending time with me. Told Martha, what are you doing? You don't have to sit there and serve me. Like, just stop. But here we are at another dinner party with those two, and they haven't learned their lesson. Martha hasn't learned her lesson. She's just serving. So these are the people at this dinner party with Jesus. His disciples are there. You've got Mary and Martha, and of course you've got Lazarus. And the word says that Lazarus was reclining with Jesus, which I think is funny and ironic. Lazarus. No? Tough crowd. Okay. I was just going to say, in Martha's defense, she was doing what was right according to her culture.
Yes.
And Mary was doing what was right according to Jesus, which is what made her so atypical. Because that culture, you know, it wasn't acceptable for a woman to sit at the feet of Jesus and learn at a rabbi's feet. You know, women were inferior. They were third-class citizens. Their role, identity, and worth was found in hosting, serving, making a meal, cleaning, taking care of the kids, you know, instead of their worth and value being found in the Lord. And so she was doing what culture told her to do. She was doing and being what culture told her to be. So, you know, I think that's, you know, what we can do sometimes too. I definitely have a strong Martha side. We're smart. We figure things out. We do things on our own. We can do that. And the Lord still loves us. He called Martha beloved. Yeah. But there's a better way. There's a better way. And Mary found that way at Jesus' feet in his presence. That's where she found her role. It was redefined. Her identity was revealed at the feet of Jesus. It changed her.
There's so many details in this story, like even just the fact that this was 6 days before Passover. 6 in Bible numerology symbolizes, listen to this, this is so cool. Kind of scary, but cool. The weakness of man and the evils of Satan. So just like Mary was making a statement by being at Jesus' feet, Jesus was making a statement by being in Lazarus' house, because you see, Satan had tried to take out Lazarus previously, tried to kill him. actually did kill him. But Jesus, see, came into Lazarus' house. Jesus came into Lazarus' life. Jesus is not afraid to come into your house. No matter how messy or disorganized, if it's like our house when people come over, everything just gets shoved into the closet. Jesus is making a statement and saying, I'm not afraid of what Satan has tried to accomplish. So most of us are like Martha, like Heidi said, we're preparing a dinner in Jesus' honor, right? And we prepare our church services in Jesus' honor. And we try and prepare our kids to live their life in honor of Jesus. And we try and do all of these things to honor Jesus. But we miss the Mary experience. We're out there trying to make a difference like Martha, trying to bring honor to his name, right? Christians, believers, leave our mark in this world, reach people, touch lives, make a difference. We're out there trying to do all these things. Yet Jesus is saying in this account that he prefers intimacy over influence. And that's what we're calling this sermon today, intimacy over influence. Don't shout me down. Jesus prefers intimacy over influence, which is not most pastors' sermon of choice, because we're called to, the Great Commission, and we're called to go and do all these things and grow this thing. Yet every time I read about Jesus, it begins with intimacy. Mary takes this 12-ounce jar of expensive perfume, pours it on Jesus. Babe, weren't you saying something about a different account of this?
Well, there was a different account, but they don't know for sure if it was Mary of Bethany, like the one we're talking about, but I think it was.
Yeah. Well, you can give us your opinion. I love your opinion.
I think it was, and she poured it over his head, which...
not just his feet.
...would have gone all the way down to his feet.
That sounds like an atypical Jesus. If I was at a dinner party and somebody tried to pour oil all over my head, I would be so concerned about my hair. And that does not come out easy. But Jesus. So Mary takes this 12-ounce bottle of perfume that was worth 12 months of her salary because it was imported from Asia and India. Average American, I'll say it this way, that the median income here in Rogers is $55,000. Would you take $55,000 and hand it to me right now? No way. I wouldn't. I would not give you $55,000. And Mary pours it out, which is why Judas got ticked, because he was so worried about the money. I would have been like Judas. Are you kidding me? Put it in the building fund, Mary. What are you doing? Think about how many people we could reach with that money, Mary. But this is interesting when you see that it's a 12-ounce jar worth 12 months' salary, and there were actually 12 disciples in the room. You see, Mary was atypical because she didn't care about people's titles. That jar of oil was probably supposed to be for every single one of those men in that room to give an ounce and anoint every single one of them. But Mary was like, I don't care what their titles are. I don't care that they're men, and in my culture, I'm supposed to honor them right now. I don't care about their disciple life group. I don't care about any of that. She said, I'm going to give everything I have to the one thing that matters to me. What an atypical experience. So she did that. She pours it out, unaffected by how this would affect her reputation or what people would think about her, or the fact that she just poured $55,000 on Jesus' feet. Not only that, but we read how Mary wiped his feet with her hair. So again, like Heidi was saying, that was a sign of immorality in her culture. Taking her hair down was basically saying, come and get it, boys. I'm all yours. That's intense.
Yeah, you know what's also interesting is that there was a good chance this was an alabaster jar in that culture. When a woman was of marrying age, her family would give her this alabaster jar of oil, and it was made of marble, so it was very hard, and it had to be broken in order to be opened up, and she was to give that to her husband and break it on their wedding night and pour it over him. So she has been saving this for the right person at the right time. And Jesus said it was intended for her to pour this oil on me to anoint me for my burial. It was planned all along, and she had this all along. Time at his feet in his presence led her to give something and minister to him that she already had. And he ministered to her, and that ministered to the people in the room. She took that dinner to a whole other level with her devotion.
Right. Wow. I looked into this perfume made from essence of nard. It was expensive because it was imported. The Romans used it as perfume, but they also used it to flavor wine. So catch the symbolism here. Mary is flavoring the new wine, Jesus. And right along with what you said, Song of Songs is a book of poetry, and it's symbolic poetry of Jesus and us. So keeping in mind this fragrance that was in the room, keeping in mind this idea of breaking this jar and pouring it out on someone that she was just in love with, I want to read to you out of Song of Songs. Prepare yourself. It's a little PG-13. Song of Songs, chapter 1, verse 12. Isn't that interesting that we're reading out of John 12:1, and now we're going to read out of Song of Songs 1:12. The young woman says, "The king is lying on his couch, enchanted by the fragrance of my perfume." This is prophetic. My lover is like a sachet of myrrh lying between my breasts. He is like a bouquet of sweet henna blossoms from the vineyards of En-Gedi. And the young man says in verse 15, "How beautiful you are, my darling. How beautiful. Your eyes are like doves." So again, we are that young woman. Jesus is that young man. And we were created for spiritual intimacy over spiritual influence. I wasn't going to say it. In times when culture and society gets a little crazy, we step up and we try and take our authority like Martha would. And Jesus is saying, I'm not into your spiritual influence right now. I'm in, as I've always been, I'm into your spiritual intimacy. Which is why every time you read in Song of Songs about this intimate relationship, they're resting, they're reclining, like Lazarus reclining, like John reclining, like the 5,000 plus men, women, and children that were waiting for their lunch. They were sitting. Jesus desires intimacy over influence.
Can I just add?
Please,
I wasn't going to say this either, but in January, I woke up early in the morning smelling fresh baked bread, and I thought it was the boys making toast, but nobody was awake making toast.
To us, Target $2.99 toast smells like fresh baked bread.
Sara Lee, yep.
Nobody doesn't like Sara Lee.
And I remember thinking, gosh, that smells so good. And then come to realize that it was just the presence of the Lord, and I didn't do anything. I was resting. I was sleeping. It's like he wanted to say, Heidi, stop doing. Yeah. Just stop doing. I'm here, you know?
Yeah, I might have told you guys this. I had a similar experience back when I was working in creative productions at our main campus, and I was playing at the piano during worship, and there was just a flow. And you guys ever had it when somebody walks by you and they smell really good? You don't see them, but they just kind of walk by you, and then you get like a waft of their perfume or cologne. You guys know what I'm talking about? So that happened. I was worshiping during a service. I think it was a Pastor Lynn service. So it was just like, I'm playing the whole time, right? Trying to figure out what song it is that she's singing. Because it was all written before I was born. And I feel this like, it's like out of a creepy movie, right? And I smell something like, I could only, it wasn't cologne and it wasn't perfume. It was somewhere in the middle. And I'm playing, you know, and Pastor Lynn's being super spiritual up front, and I'm like, what? And I thought somebody had, like, walked by me, you know, to go take their seat and was just, you know, too much Axe body spray or something. And I am looking around, and I think Pastor Lynn at that time was trying to get my attention, and I'm just like, what? And then the Lord, it was like I knew it beyond a shadow of a doubt, that his presence was there, because there was nobody walking around. You know, it was 9 a.m. I sure wasn't smelling good. And I was able to just rest and play and worship. He'll do that. He'll get through to you. He'll do whatever he wants to do and whatever he needs to do to get through to you. Out of the shower in the morning, during the Super Bowl, Sunday morning in a church service. He'll do whatever. So what happens when we act like Mary? And we prioritize Jesus? She wasn't concerned about tithing her year's salary. Don't shout me down now. What happens when we prioritize Jesus above how much we're volunteering, or above the titles, or above our church services, or above our building campaigns? What happens when we prioritize Jesus above our busy schedules and our busy lives? What happens when we prioritize like Mary was doing? When we choose intimacy over influence? John 12:3, we just read it. The house is filled with the fragrance. Let's talk about the house for a second. This house that they were in, it's not like it magically switched locations. It's not like it magically got really clean on the inside, right? They had the same old furniture. They had the same old problems in their house. Anybody? Same old secrets, same old skeletons in their closet, in that house. But that house was still filled with the fragrance. It reminds me of bacon. When you cook bacon, yes, you cook bacon and your whole house smells like bacon. Can I get an amen? I feel the anointing coming on this morning. And the whole, not turkey bacon, not turkey bacon. No. Not faking bacon, none of that stuff. I mean bacon, pig bacon. Maybe you're one of those Christians that thinks pigs are demons and you're not supposed to eat bacon. Well, I feel sorry for you. I love me some demon bacon. So pig bacon. Pig bacon. Ooh. And I'm not talking when you cook it in the oven because you're trying to be healthy, so you put it on a rack so the grease drips down. I'm talking when you're cooking bacon in bacon grease. And then you save that bacon grease and you use it again to make your eggs. Ooh, Jesus, I feel you in this room. I'm on a diet. I just want some bacon.
Anyway,
I don't know what I was talking about. I got to get back to my notes. I got distracted. It's that smell, right? And you better believe if you dumped 12 ounces of perfume in your living room and then you used your hair to wipe it up, not only is the house going to smell, but you are going to smell like a middle schooler with new bottle of Axe. You are going to smell. Everywhere you go is going to smell. Everyone is going to smell the fragrance that is on you. So now, not only is your intimacy with Jesus affecting you, but it's affecting everybody around you. And they wonder, you hear it say, well, they just wonder why you have so much joy. People do not wonder if I have so much joy. They don't. Can anybody relate to that? How am I supposed to influence my community when I'm having a bad week or a bad month? So I guess I'll just isolate myself and stay away because I don't want to be a bad influence on people. But let me tell you, when you put intimacy with Jesus over influencing other people, there is a fragrance that comes into your house. It comes on you. It is the goodness of God, the glory of God, the love of God. It comes on you whether you're having a good day or not. And it will influence people even when you're cranked, even when you're having a bad week. It'll influence people whether you're preaching or whether you're moaning and groaning about how cold it is this morning. It'll influence people while you're watching the game. It'll influence people while you're preaching a sermon. It will influence your children in ways that no parenting book could. It'll influence your children in ways that you didn't learn from your parents. Come on, church. This is the good news, that we can see the evidence of His goodness, not because of what we are doing, but because of what He is doing, what He has done. And that's why we can read in 2 Corinthians 2 that He uses us to spread the knowledge of Christ everywhere like a sweet perfume, that our lives are a Christ-like fragrance rising up to God. Where does that come from? It comes from Mary, Martha, Lazarus, Jesus. That's what Paul is talking about, that our lives are a Christ-like fragrance rising up to God. And this is the great exchange, that Mary came to bless Jesus with this perfume and this act of worship, like many of you are here doing today. But the great exchange is that Jesus says, no, Mary, now you leave me different, influential. Man, I think of Christy. She gave me this stuff that makes me smell really good. Essential oils. Oh, man. I'm smelling as good as you, Jane. I mean, just, yeah, why do I stink? Is that, she gave me this stuff, and let me tell you, not only can you smell it, but it like relaxes me. You know what I'm saying? And now, because you simply, instead of stopped trying to volunteer as much as you can, or say all the right things and do all the right things, or give more money, or whatever it is that you do to justify yourself, whatever that is, reading all those books to try and be a better you, instead of that, you just sit. Yeah, instead of trying to do all the things pastors are supposed to do and make sure the church is growing and following the strat plan. Sorry, I'm just kind of venting a little bit right now. Instead of picking a location for a church that you should pick, instead of doing everything that everybody else is doing out there for their church, you're just sitting at the feet of Jesus saying, I'm the last guy that should have this job, Lord. I didn't go to school for this. I got more issues than anybody in the room. Why am I here with the mic? Instead of worrying about those things, I just set it down. I can't explain the unexplainable. And I just, like Mary, I just sit down at the feet of Jesus and say, Lord, I believe that when I leave, I'm going to smell like you. And that even if I say the wrong thing and don't follow the right strat plan, and if I don't do all the right things, if I screw up as a parent or a husband, I have to trust that you in me is still going to influence my situation, my life, my family, and that it's going to influence me and help me. It's going to influence them and help them, and it's going to bring you honor, not because of what I'm doing. God forbid that we have a church that's known for what it's doing as opposed to being known for what He is doing. God, burn down our idols. Burn them down. So, I guess what I'm asking is that before we make decisions that will influence us or influence others, before we take that job or make that move, or before we, write that post, or that make that podcast, before we make those big decisions. Maybe it's just in a conversation, before we get into it, before, I've said this before, we would just first pause, right? First pause. And this is what the Lord told me to do. Find some silence and solitude before the celebration. So before we try and influence anything, focus on resting instead of stepping. This is for somebody in here. You've been asking the Lord for the next step, and He's telling you, stop focusing on the next step and focus on the rest. The rest, not the step. I'm a big believer of taking things one step at a time, but I hear Him saying this morning. Don't even focus on the next step. Turn your attention on the rest. The resting, not the stepping. And that's the first and foremost way to be an influence. You see, you can be an influence at Jesus' feet. That makes you an influence even if you're working a job that you hate. Oh, wow. That's for somebody. That means you can be an influence even if you don't have 10,000 followers. That means you can be an influence even if your kids aren't serving the Lord. I feel like we're just supposed to step on some religious garbage this morning. Maybe you can be an influence even if you're like John and you skipped church this morning. John. Just kidding, he's out of town. Wow. Resting instead of stepping.
Well, and that's it, it's redefining what influence is, what the Lord sees influence as versus what the world sees influence as.
Yeah, here it is. Bring it all together with this. You are not called to live a life of faith. Anybody here have a word of faith background? I see that hand, I see that hand, I see that hand, I see that hand. Every single one of us lives a life of faith. You are not called to walk by faith. Every single one of us walks by faith, saved or secular. We all believe in something or someone. Don't shout me down now. How much pressure have we put on ourselves because we're trying to trust more, have more faith, right? I got to take this step of faith. It's not about the life of faith. It's not about the walk of faith. Can we not make it about ourselves? It's not what do we have faith in. It's whom do we have faith in. You see the difference there? The difference is I trust Jesus enough to just sit down and pardon the expression, but shut up and just sit at His feet and receive from the one that I have faith in, as opposed to getting up like Martha and doing the honorable thing and walking out my faith first. No, first, who is my faith in? Who do I trust in? Because from that place, His faith is activated in our lives, which gives us that mountain-moving faith to deal with that situation with our kids, to deal with that situation at work or in our marriage. Because when we start at the feet of Jesus. Let me tell you, he moves us to the cross of Jesus. Come on, church. And from the cross of Jesus, we now have the perspective of Jesus. And when Jesus was hanging on that cross, looking down at Mary, looking down at his mother in that moment, when he was on that cross looking at that centurion, when he was on that cross looking at his disciples, when he was on that cross looking at sinners to his left and to his right, from the perspective of Jesus, he wasn't concerned about influence. He was concerned about intimacy. Take care of my mother. Hey, don't worry. One day you'll be with me in paradise. Hey, this guy right here is a man of faith. Even God, who so loved first the world that he gave, second, influenced his only son. Everything that our faith is founded on, church, the reason we're here this morning, because God so loved us, first, intimacy, that he gave, second, influence, his son. And that is why maybe you struggled like I have time and time again to just figure things out or fix things in faith. How many are faith fixers? I'm believing I can do, right? But it just, for some reason, it's not working out for you. I've experienced that. My faith, it's going to sound cheesy, starts at his feet. My faith starts at his feet, just like my influence starts with his intimacy. Did you want to add something, babe?
Okay, so Mary was mentioned 3 times in the Bible, and all 3 times that she's mentioned, she is found at Jesus' feet. And I think she's so spiritual. I don't know if I can see myself.
She's like
in
you,
that.
babe.
Do you know what I mean? But the beautiful thing that the Lord showed me is the only reason she is at his feet is because he called her. He was there first. He was knocking on the door of her heart. And then she just responded. And every time that she was at his feet, it was for a different reason. Every time somebody was criticizing her, and every time Jesus defended her. In the first time in Luke 10, the only reason Mary was at Jesus' feet is because Martha invited Jesus into their home. Jesus pulled at Martha's heart. Martha responded and invited him into her home. And then when Mary saw Jesus already sitting in her home, he was already there. She didn't do anything. He was there sitting in the living room. She sat at his feet and listened to everything and learned and hung on every word. And Mary criticized her, be more productive, and Jesus defended her. But that's what happens when we're in his presence. She needed to know who she was. She needed to know that Jesus was going to defend her. She needed to know that Jesus was the one who was going to give her that worth that she was looking for. And the second time, very different situation. In John 11, Lazarus dies. Mary is feeling heart-wrenching pain, sorrow, grief. Well, in verse 28 to 29, after this, Martha ran home to Mary. Martha, whispering to Mary, "Come with me, the teacher is here, and he has asked for you." Mary did not waste a minute. And I feel like this time she was running to him. He called her name. She just responded. and she fell at his feet, but this time she wasn't learning and listening. She was weeping, and she was full of sorrow, and she was angry, and she was hurt. And what did Jesus do? He wept with her. He weeps with us. And I'm sure because she had left a group of people who were grieving with her, I'm sure I could hear those people saying, why is she wasting her time? He could have healed Lazarus. He could have raised him from the dead, and he didn't. Why is she wasting her time? He was there. He called her, and she couldn't help but respond. And in that moment, she realized, you know what? He does care about me. He's crying with me. He cares about every single thing that I care about, even the stupidest, littlest, silliest things. And she realized that she had him caring about her. That's valuable.
Yeah.
That was at his feet.
Yeah. Wow.
And then the third time we've talked about, this time she is ministering to his heart though,
Yeah.
right? He was again in her home, already there, sitting at the table. But this time she was compelled to minister to his heart and give to him. It's different.
I'm not one for, well, yes, I
Because
am.
he was there. He calls us first.
You notice, this sounds so weird. You notice when she said he wept with her, these lights came on above us? Did you guys notice that? All right, now I'm not really hooky pooky, but I'm just saying. My friend Brian, he's always like, God has these little God winks that he does. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, yeah, that's God. And when you said that, he wept with her. Boing, and these lights came on. It's like the Lord wants us to know, like, this is where I'm at, guys. You've come here to honor me. I've come here to weep with you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That no matter where we're at and what we're going through, good, bad, ugly, no matter who wins the Super Bowl, no matter when the days are hard, when the days are easy, when we're up, when we're down, when we're an emotional basket case or we've got all of our junk, our poop in a group, as they say, no matter what, Jesus is that close, so close. Yeah. I have a song, but we'll wait till next week. No, that's okay. He's here. He's here. Do you know that this morning? Front row does. The front row always knows. Back row, do you know he's here this morning? No? Okay. That's why we're looking at a building that's smaller than this. Don't tell anybody I told you. So we can all be real close. I can smell the bacon already. We're pursuing a building right now that encompasses this. I want to smell your breath on a Sunday morning. That says we're more about sitting at the feet of Jesus than being the epicenter of attention in our city or our community. That community, in fact, and relationship is birthed at the feet of Jesus, because then the one thing that we have in common is the one thing that never changes or never leaves us or never forsakes us. So even if you get cranky at something I say or I get cranky at something you do, we don't leave each other, because there's one thing in common, and that is Jesus. And he's been faithful to us, so we can be faithful to each other. He loved us despite our issues, so we can love each other despite our issues. You see, that kind of community is the kind of community I want, and it's the kind of community that doesn't let you down when things get tough and things get rough. Amen? It's the kind of community that says, what do you need? It's the kind of community like they had in Acts. What do you need? Let me help you, because I got. Who knew we could just get the music going when I'm talking about an old church building? God is not just preaching good sermons to us. He is reworking everything about our lives in order for us to experience his intimacy and his love and his goodness. Amen?